Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Klaudia Tirico. I'm the editor at Demand Gen Report. And if you're an avid reader of our publication, you may have seen our recent coverage of some very exciting news in the ABM space. IDG, the world's leading technology, media, data, and marketing services company, has acquired the ABM platform Triblio. So very exciting times for sure. To really learn more about this acquisition and what it means for the B2B and ABM space, I'm thrilled to be joined by Mohamad Ali, who is the CEO of IDG, and Andre Yee, who is the CEO of Triblio. Hello, gentlemen, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you very much for having us today.
Hi, Claudia. Thanks so much. Looking forward to the discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So I'm going to kick things off right away. I mean, first of all, I wanted to first congratulate you, Andre, on the acquisition. Can you tell us a little bit about why you agreed to this acquisition and why now?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Claudia. As you can imagine, we're excited about the acquisition, but I think to put it in proper context, Mohamad and I actually began talking in, I don't know, maybe September of last year, so it's been a long dance. I mean, we've talked, and just to give you a little background, when we talk, the more it seemed to sort of make sense for both parties because of the business synergies on both sides. It actually seemed obvious that this was something that would help both sides. So
awesome. So to dive a little bit deeper, what does this acquisition really mean for Triblio? I know you talked about the merger really helping Triblio scale more quickly, especially globally. So what other ways does this union really help Triblio accelerate its growth?
Yeah, let me sort of dig a little deeper into that. When I say scaling out the next phase of our growth, here's what I mean. Over the last couple of years, we've successfully broken into the enterprise space. We've proven that we can sell to large global enterprises and we can make them successful. I think the question for us is, how do we make that scale, right? How do we go from 20 global enterprises to 200 global enterprises in the next 5 years? And that essentially means building a global channel. And that means that takes a lot of money and time. And IDG has a very effective global channel that they've nurtured over 50 years. And so we get that on day one of this acquisition happening. I think the second part of all of that is also sort of, what does it mean to pair our leading ABM platform with their leading, first-party data and premium media. So, that gives us a host of opportunities for the future.
Awesome. And Mohamad, you have an interesting and extensive background in technology, and you have stated actually that you want IDG to become more of a tech company and that the Triblio acquisition was the first step towards that. So what made Triblio attractive to you? Were you particularly interested in the ABM solution, or were there other elements that really stood out about the company?
I thank you, Claudia, for asking that. It's a great question, and I plan to answer it pretty thoroughly, actually. But before I go there, I just want to adjust something that Andre said. We didn't meet in September. We met on August 8th.
Oh, wow.
I joined the company on August 1st, and I think a couple of days after that, I called my good friend Joe Payne, who used to be CEO of Eloqua, and I said, hey, I have this thesis. Who do you think I should talk to about this? And he said, you really need to talk to Andre. And the introduction was made on August 8th. And, in some ways, I was lucky that Andre was one of the first people I talked to. So now to your question. IDG is a technology company. I've worked at Adobe, IBM, HP, Carbonite, and it was pretty clear to me that IDG was already a technology company. But I don't think that was clear to too many people. And it had some really compelling assets that could solve a very difficult problem. And that very difficult problem is the upper part of the sales funnel, right? So the lower, if you divide the funnel into the lower and the upper part, the lower part of the funnel is dominated by a few big players, Salesforce, Oracle, et cetera. That's, most of the $40 billion market. But the upper funnel has, and you know this, Claudia, over 7,000 vendors. And that is a red light.
Yeah.
Somebody like me, who I'm always looking for problems that technology can solve. And, you know, I recognized early on that IDG, you know, when I say it's a technology company, it really is. Like our IDC division, for example, the heart of it is an AI-powered data structure that has over 1 billion data points that has to be updated regularly, really sophisticated algorithms that models 1/10 of the world's GDP. It's a big model. And then on the IDG communication side, our media side, you know, we have all these publications in over 100 countries that's powered by this very sophisticated technology platform. And that platform houses the single largest data set of first-party relationships relative to tech buyers and tech sellers. But it wasn't really being used in conjunction with some of the other parts that are needed to solve this upper funnel problem. And so I was convinced, even before I joined the company on August 1, and in some ways it was why I joined the company, that there was a big problem to be solved. IDG had a part of the solution, and there were a few other parts that we had to put together. And one of them was an ABM platform. And we had to make that ABM platform extremely smart. And, you know, I met Andre on August 8th. We went and we looked at a whole bunch of other companies to buy, and we kept coming back to Triblio, and we could talk about why later. But yeah, I mean, I think we're a technology company, but we're going to become an even bigger technology company going forward.
Awesome. And can you both expand on why it really makes sense to bring together media and marketing technologies, and really what the potential of the integration of the two brings for B2B brands in the future?
Yeah, Andre, you want to take that first?
Sure. You know, first I'll say this, like ABM has received a lot of hype, right? Obviously over the last few years, but I've always believed that ABM is a transition to a bigger vision of sort of next generation martech solution. And this future solution needs to encompass not just an execution platform, it needs to encompass the first party data to make it happen. So when I think about bringing together Triblio's best-in-class ABM orchestration platform with IDG's sort of first-party data and premium media, what that means to me, or really more importantly, what it means to the B2B marketer, is that you can execute ABM at scale with data you can trust. Now, I don't, you know, it may seem like a small thing to say that, but actually it's a very important thing in a privacy-sensitive world. This really matters to B2B marketers. Right. And then the second thing is that the IDG network of premium publications means that the B2B marketer can now gain unique insights about the buyers. They can also execute unique media placements to reach those buyers. So what that means with the Triblio platform is we can now provide the ability to orchestrate the buying journey and buying interactions across multiple channels at every stage of the buying journey. So that's why I think it's so powerful, right? That is a potent combination.
Yeah, and I think Andre used the word that I think is at the heart of this, which is orchestration. And very early on, you know, I think Andre came to my office and I had a whiteboard and I had all this stuff on it, and a big part of it was, how do you get all these things to do the right things in a smart way? And then I remember Andre said, well, we've built this really great orchestration engine. And I said, show it to me. And he did. And, you know, if you think about it, marketing now is kind of a multi-channel thing, and being able to orchestrate at the right time with the, you know, right target audience, with the right message, it's very complicated. So that is heart of what Andre has built. And the architecture is really, really quite extraordinary. You know, I mean, Andre is the guy who built Eloqua, right? And, you know, when he left, he started this company. And so one of the things we really loved about Triblio was actually the architecture, because it allows us to leverage this core, which is this orchestration engine, and make it extremely smart. And you say, well, how are you going to make it extremely smart? And if you think about, you know, the IDG properties, we have over 200 million people, buyers, tech buyers, who are coming to these properties, and 40 to 50 million of them who will say, hey, can you connect me to the right content or to the right seller? And we can do that. And now we can do it in a really, really smart way. And we could help tech vendors connect with those tech buyers who are looking for this opportunity. And it's all GDPR compliant. It's all first-party relationships. And there was a time, part of the reason there are these 7,000 companies in the space is because they're all built on third-party relationships. And we have an opportunity to build a unique type of business that is anchored on first-party relationships that become extremely smart and has a sophisticated orchestration engine. So I think that, that's a big part of why I'm excited about this.
Yeah, definitely exciting for sure. Is there a significant overlap between your respective customer bases, or do you anticipate introducing offerings to both sets of customers in a kind of like a cross-sell type model?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a big part of the opportunity, right? If you think about it, IDG has thousands of customers in over 100 countries, and Triblio is more focused in the US. So on day one, and when Andre said that he had access to the Salesforce on day one, he literally did, because before, on the day that we closed the deal, we had assigned salespeople within IDG to get trained and with quota to go sell. And so immediately he has a sales force now who's going to be reaching out to the IDG customers. First, they have to be trained, and we're going through that training process. But immediately following that, they'll be reaching out. And this is a tremendous opportunity to bring Triblio to customers, especially customers that are looking for a global solution, to have a relationship with a company like IDG who can support them anywhere in the world. I don't think there are too many other ABM companies that will have that capability, and we have that capability now. So that is truly exciting. At IDG, we also have a set of software assets, and our intent is to combine those software assets with Triblio to make it an even richer solution much faster. So one example is we have an ABM product called Echo, and it is really focused on taking a set of ABM targets and using a mechanism to engage them using display ads. That's a piece of technology and a business that we have today that global companies utilize that could get integrated into Triblio. And so in a very short period of time, I think what you'll see is Triblio available globally and Triblio available with even richer features that are coming from IDG. So, I would say just sort of watch this space in the next 12 to 18 months. We have a pretty exciting roadmap of things that we're going to bring to market. Some of them are primarily for, seamless consumption, and others are truly 1 + 1 = 3, things that couldn't be built by us separately, but now that we're together, we can build them.
Andre, do you want to add anything to that, or?
Maybe more on a personal note, I'll add this, right? When you build, first of all, I'm the founder and CEO of Triblio, so I founded the company. And when you found a company, you build a platform that obviously we believe to be the leading ABM platform. What you want is for as many people to get the benefit of that as possible. And so, that's why we're excited about this sort of union between our companies. There's the business synergies, but at a personal level, I'm just excited about the idea that Triblio will be used by more marketers throughout the world. And that's what I actually saw when I was at Eloqua. We grew globally, and it was exciting, and hope to see the same thing with Triblio. So.
Will there be any formal integration of the offerings where Triblio customers would get access to IDG's data or audience, or IDG customers would be able to access Triblio's applications?
I guess the short answer to that, Klaudia, is yes. There will be, and we're already working on some of that. I mean, we're not prepared to share details about it right now. It probably isn't appropriate for this video interview, but I'll say this much. You can expect many of IDG's technology-enabled services to be powered by Triblio, and you can expect IDG's data to be accessible within Triblio. I guess that's sort of a very broad statement, but we can, if you have us back again, we can give you some more details and talk a little more in terms of what we have planned over the next 12 to 18 months. So.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I'll hold you to that. So will this change or expand the product roadmap or product offerings for either company in the near future?
Absolutely. I mean, a big part of doing this deal is not to have two separate companies, two separate product lines, is to bring them together, integrate where it makes sense, build new capabilities. Andre has seen the architecture diagram on my wall. It's a little scary when you have two engineers. I started out as a software engineer, and obviously that's Andre's background as well. And just part of the fun here is we get to actually build something more together. And so, he's got a roadmap. We had a roadmap. We're bringing them together. I think we have said, we've talked about building the next generation martech platform. We're not looking to do something incremental here. I think we're looking to solve this problem in the upper funnel, where you have 7,000 companies, and there really shouldn't be 7,000 companies. There's no market where it makes sense, right? And so it means that there's an opportunity, and we're looking to build that solution that will create a meaningful player in that upper market that solves a problem for the CMOs out there.
Andre, did you want to add to that, or?
No, I mean, I think what you're seeing is ABM evolving from a niche to a mainstream strategic practice, right? That means if I am a B2B marketer, I want to know, is this company, the martech company I'm dealing with, capable of delivering a full solution as opposed to just one component of the solution, right? Demand gen marketers shouldn't be piecing this together, by spit and glue. I mean, they have the right to go to one source and get a platform that can help them execute. I think there's the thing is you also want to know that the company can support your needs globally, right? That's another thing. And then, you want to know that whoever you're working with as a vendor, as a company, can bring together technology and data together in a way that is meaningful and compliant in this privacy first world that we are all, living in. It's going to be important. So I think, what we get on the Triblio side is access to that privacy first, to that first party data that helps us execute on that vision. And so we're, lots of good stuff ahead, I think.
Awesome. And speaking of demand generation and data, what do you see as some of the biggest trends or changes in the way B2B brands are approaching demand generation? Intent data has been a big buzzword and big strategy these days. Do you see that as a game changer, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in here and then pass it on to Mohamad. Yeah, intent data is definitely a, game changer, if you would. It's gotten a lot of attention. What's interesting is it's been around for a long time, but actually it's only been in the last couple of years where people have figured out, you need to use intent data in conjunction with an execution platform, an ABM platform. So I think data is most meaningful when you can put it within a context of an execution platform. So I think, but we see that as a trend. I think the other two trends, which we've already mentioned here, is I think marketers are not going to just be thinking siloed channels anymore. They're going to be thinking about how to orchestrate cross-channel campaigns. It's not going to be just a, sort of pie in the sky. It's actually happening with many of our customers, and I see that accelerating. And then the last trend is the thing that I've mentioned over and over again, as Mohamad, which is first party data is really going to be important. It's going to make a difference. If you're a B2B marketer and you're not thinking critically about how to market with first party data, you are really behind the curve, because you're going to find out what the European marketers already know, which is privacy is going to be an issue for B2B marketers. And so, I think those are three trends that I see that are vitally important to B2B marketers. Mohamad, anything else adding to that?
Yeah, I mean, just very briefly, the way I think about it is it needs to be smart and it needs to be orchestrated. And under that, these trends sort of all fall there, right? So under smart, you need intent, you need first party, you need a variety of things. And we're looking to bring all those things together so the CMO doesn't have to piece part it. That's the smart. And then the orchestrated, is anchored around this engine that Andre has built and connecting that in a multi-channel way so that, when your smarts tells you what needs to happen, you can actually do it. The CMO can then see some meaningful ROI. I think, Klaudia, as you know, I mean, marketing is one of those areas where the ROI can be very elusive. And as a former CEO of a company that had, 500,000 business customers and we put a ton into marketing, I was always frustrated by, the return on investment. And so I think the trends Andre described are the right one. And I just put it into those two categories of smart and orchestrated.
Awesome. There have been some big acquisitions recently in the ABM and martech space, Demandbase and Engagio. So do you anticipate continued consolidation among vendors or specifically more mergers among ABM technologies with traditional marketing automation platforms?
I do, but I think it's more, the question we should ask ourselves is why? Why is this happening, And I think part of it is actually something I just said earlier, which is ABM has moved from sort of this niche tactic or niche play to a mainstream strategic practice, right? And B2B marketers are now spending more money than ever on these. This is the future. And so to do that, they want to know that the company that they're working with is, has global reach. They want to know that it has access to first-party data. They want to know that it can, support them in unique ways and also can remain innovative long into the future, right? You're placing bigger bets now as a B2B marketer on ABM. So I think as a result, the market's evolving and to make that vision happen for the buyer, it means that companies have to get together because to make that 1 + 1 = 3, as Mohamad said. So,
yeah, I think Andre covered that well. It's like I said, it's a market with 7,000 companies. There will be consolidation. The one that you referred to, it's an interesting one, as you probably know. The founder of Demandbase is an ex-IDG guy. He left IDG, founded the company. And so, we have to have a lot of respect for an ex-IDG person. Having said that, these are still two small companies and we don't have, large businesses, large companies in this upper funnel. You could probably just remember a few billion-dollar acquisition, Eloqua, Marketo, but there just aren't that many. So yeah, I think they're going to be consolidations just because of the nature of how many companies there are in the space.
And Mohamad, you actually, you said that, this is a great step towards IDG becoming a tech company. So any insights or any scoop on any, additional acquisitions coming up? Are there any specific categories that interest you?
Great questions. Great question. Yes, we're going to be doing more acquisitions. If you look at, the time I was at Carbonite, we did a whole series of acquisitions. Company went from $100 million to $500 million. When I was at IBM, I did a lot of acquisitions, especially around their AI platform, their what they call cognitive computing today. So utilizing acquisitions to build, great companies is I think a thing that we intend to do. We obviously can't talk about what's in our pipeline, but we have a very healthy pipeline. I think I'll come back to this problem that CMOs face. And when I was at Carbonite, we actually utilized a number of these products that you probably write about, and very few of them delivered on their promise. And I tell you, like, we spend tens of millions of dollars on the upper funnel, and the ROI was just very poor. And I was always surprised. Having said that, now that I'm here, I understand why, right? We just don't have enough smarts. And when we do have the smarts, people don't act on it, right? I mean, you've probably seen this before. And so that's why I think this combination of smart and orchestrated is so important. And I think if you just take those two categories, you could probably then fill in, the boxes underneath that have to be checked off in order to get to the type of, next generation martech 2.0 solution that, Andre has on his whiteboard and I have on my whiteboard, which will include other acquisitions.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you so much for sharing this great news with our audience. Is there anything that you'd like to add that we didn't cover, and anything that I missed before we say farewell?
Andre?
No, not for me. Just thank you, Klaudia. It was a really interesting discussion, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, and Klaudia, I want to thank you as well. And, I also just want to say that I am so excited to be working with Andre, and, having a fellow engineer at to work with and to design this next generation technology is very exciting. So thank you, Andre, and thank you, Klaudia.
Thank you both. This is really exciting. I look forward to hearing more of what's going to happen in the future and how this all flourishes. So we'll definitely be all keeping an eye out. So thanks again. And thank you everyone for watching. Stay safe.